Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. This is the moment that we have all been waiting for. Now, you know that I have brought you guys many an update on the pending railroad workers union strike. And here we are today with an update that the Senate has proposed a bill that has passed through the Senate and is waiting on the president, Joe Biden, to sign, which would ultimately avert the potential catastrophic railroad workers union strike that would shut down at least 30% of the U.S. supply chain and potentially cause a economic disaster and catastrophe at a loss of over $2 billion a day. That's billion with a B, folks. So the problem with this is there are many. Now, I received an email or two actually after Squirrel Tribe and I did a live stream this morning discussing some of the current events going on around the world, particularly focusing on what's happening here in the United States as it relates to job loss and unemployment, and the Fed and the railroad was part of that. And it says here, Jeffrey sent me an email and it says, enough is enough. Rail workers decry Biden's push to impose strike, breaking labor deal. And he also sent another, Congress has imposed an immoral and illegal action against railroad workers. And that's where I have a problem, this immoral and illegal action, because ultimately they're stepping in and they're saying that you cannot strike, but you can also not negotiate the terms of your contract as you see fit for the requested time off, which should be a standard. I don't think you should have to negotiate the time off, with the shocking bombshell being that they have allowed, I believe, an additional 3 days. I think they're allowing an additional 3 days of sick time off, with the exception of you must follow the criteria for requesting the time off being at least 30 days advance notice. How many people know that they're going to be sick 30 days from now? I mean, unless it's only going to apply to doctor's visits and dental visits, which this is just, it's unbelievable. This is ridiculous. Like, they're taking advantage so bad of these folks grind. They're on these trains for like 28 hours a day. It's crazy. And then Congress steps up and just like literally flicks them the bird. And it's like, nope, we're putting our foot down. It is what it is. Take it or leave it. I don't even know if they have an option of leaving it, So here's the thing. I'm hearing that the strike is still going to happen. The strike is still going to happen. Now, I don't know how widespread the strike will be and how many folks will be involved with it, but I'm hearing that it's still going to happen. So what happens when the trains shut down? Well, when the trains shut down and they stop moving, and at least 30% of the U.S. Railway freight, 30% of the actual supply chain freight is shut down, then ultimately that's going to have a huge impact and an effect on so many others. Now, let's think about this. The Fed is continuously pushing to raise interest rates to fight inflation, with the sole intention of forcing Americans to lose their jobs because businesses are going to have to lay them off. The layoffs are supposed to reduce the consumer's ability to spend and stimulate the economy, which would then theoretically force businesses and companies and manufacturers and the like to lower their prices to have the effect of a reduction of inflation. That's the idea. That's the general theory behind the Fed and their push. Now, here's what will happen. The trains stop running. The railroad gets shut down. The strike occurs. Freight stops. Well, guess what? these businesses that are already teetering on the edge of this knife's edge of the economy, which, it's almost like the economy is a falling knife that no one is trying to catch. And this is just yet another situation and instance of how this is going to have a negative impact on so many people that don't even realize it yet. And if it does occur, we'll soon realize, wow, I had no idea how much of an impact the railroad had on my day-to-day life. Because if the railroad shuts down, if the railroad workers do in fact go on strike, well, then that means that there will be some businesses out there that are going to be negatively impacted by this strike. How? Why? Well, because you see, they will not be able to transport their goods. They will not be able to receive their goods. They will not be able to receive certain raw materials. You got to think a lot of hazardous chemicals and materials are transported by railway freight. So BNSF, Norfolk Southern, Union Pacific, CSX, all these railroad companies, they play a vital part in transportation. FedEx, UPS, even Amazon, they're all interconnected and they rely on the railroads. Ports. The ports, we got these coastal ports. A lot of that freight gets distributed through the railway system until it reaches its destination and or hub to then, perhaps maybe jump on a semi truck or maybe that last mile delivery. But what will happen is, as businesses start to feel the squeeze from a lack of receiving the goods and materials that they need to conduct business, to create products, to manufacture, to execute and supply services, we're talking about every single industry out there, from farming to grocery to automotive to residential, home builders, commercial construction, the tech industry. Everybody is tied into this. So what will happen is, if the railroad workers union do in fact strike, and this causes a disruption in supply, that $2 billion a day is going to come out of the behinds of these businesses, because the businesses are going to be forced into not being able to do business, not at least the way that they had anticipated or that they have in the past. So two things can happen. One, the businesses can start laying off more employees. Why? Because there's no business to conduct. Okay. Two, the businesses will actually do the opposite of what the Fed is trying to accomplish, which is reduce inflation. They're going to raise their prices because they know that their ability to sell and produce revenue and ultimately profit is finite, because the railroad has shut down and a lot of their supply is tied up in that. So they're going to have to make up their revenues, their income, and their profit with the limited supply that they have. The reduction of supply and with a steady and or increase of demand will drive up the price, driving up inflation. Not to mention, transporter or passenger rail will be affected by this as well, because they rely on these tracks that will then have miles and miles and miles of train cars stopped because the railroad workers have gone on strike. Folks, this is ultimately what we are facing. This is what we're potentially up against. Folks, this is a warning to prepare, but at the same time, all you can really prepare for is just how bad it's going to get, because, time is limited, and, this could happen at any given moment. This could happen at any given moment if there isn't actually an agreed upon contract negotiation outside of the Senate or Congress or the president stepping in and telling these folks what they're going to do. Because ultimately, you can only push these folks so far before they push back. And when they push back, they shut down the economy. They shut down the supply chain. Even if it's only 1/3 of the supply chain, that 1/3, $2 billion a day will be felt by many. I can guarantee you that. I can assure you that. And with the mass layoffs and hiring freezes and job loss and terminations that we're seeing now, with projections of even more, this is the last thing that I would want to happen, especially if I were the president of the United States and had control over how these negotiations could potentially and theoretically go. There needs to be a push, not so much to kind of force the workers into accepting this raw deal, but perhaps a push to create a balance and a common ground between the railroad companies, the Warren Buffetts, the owners of these Union Pacifics and these CSXs and these BNSFs and these Norfolk Southerns, the owners and the workers union and the managers of these unions and these collective bargaining agreements to formulate a solution that theoretically can work for all, to avoid a possible strike, possible economic collapse, which a crippling effect on our economy would be for this to occur even for just a week. Even for just a week, it would take months to recover from. Months, folks. If anybody out there has any additional information about the possible railroad workers union strike, anyone who's actually involved with it, anybody who cares to step up and share some boots on the ground intel, some insider intel, some real world experience, please contact me. My info is in the description. I will not contact you in the chat in the comment section below. I will never try to contact you through WhatsApp. So I'm asking you to reach out to me, because that's the only way that we are going to be able to engage in this conversation, unless you happen to already be a member of the network. And if so, please contact me there, direct message me there on patreon.com/Kevin247. You guys, look, folks, please save your money, stockpile, get ready, prepare yourselves for what could happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but if it does, we want to be ready for it, and we don't want to just get socked in the mouth and slapped in the face and then, have no idea what we're going to do next. Perhaps maybe not rush out and buy everything, but make sure you have, your necessities covered for, at least a considerable amount of time, given the fact that we could potentially see our supply chain shut down through this railroad workers union strike, which would then put us in a position of being unable to pick up these necessities that we need, that we kind of take for granted right now on a daily basis. We don't want to find ourselves in a panic mode situation if this were to occur. With that being said, you guys take care, be safe. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.